Financial wellness. Reach out to them for advice at 855-DON-GINO. And now back to your hosts, Don Getling and Gino Franti.
Here we are at the final segment of the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And you have Don Getling, Gino Franti, and our good friend and mentor and confidant, partner in business, all that good stuff. Party partner, too. Going to new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yep. Go Denver. Ha. Anyways, Steve is helping us out. He just went over something that's really imperative that you got to pay attention because remember, you have a choice of what escrow company you work with, what lender you work with, and so forth. He was mentioning if you work with a wrong escrow company, be careful of the rampant wire fraud that is happening, meaning your deposit that you worked so hard to put into your new transaction could be stolen, basically.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I did want to mention that you mentioned Gmail.
Right.
Gmail is probably the #1 easiest email server to hack, and I don't want to throw our real estate friends under the bus, but I'm not for big government, but escrow is heavily regulated on how we send secure emails.
Mm-hmm.
Lenders are heavily regulated on how we send secure emails. Realtors are not regulated at all.
Right.
I mean, some of them still send out emails from AOL.
I've stood before groups, groups, and I'm preaching these guys to change that and make them aware of it. But one other significant thing, Don and Gino, is that Newhall Escrow is an independently owned escrow company, which means that we aren't owned by a real estate company. We're not controlled by a title company. And there's a lot of competition out here that's owned by a real estate company. And the difference between that company and my company is the constant management on site. A lot of those real estate-owned escrow companies don't have managers that are qualified, that are there on a day-in, day-out basis. The owner of the company, who's the real estate broker who owns the company, real estate company, is an absent owner. And so the people that are come to work every day in an escrow office, they come there to do a good job, but they're not responsible if the money's gone. They lack the practices, the best practices that should be in place. And quite frankly, to do business with a company that doesn't have on-site management, constant management, is putting yourself at risk and your deal at risk. I'm not mean to slam anybody. I know they're all good people.
No, that's imperative.
But the reality is, if you work with a real estate agent and they say, "Oh, we're going to use our in-house escrow company because I have to," well, just realize that there's very few times when there's management of any significance there overseeing what those people are doing. Just it's enough said. I don't want to go into anything super negative, but that's just
or just people that focus on they're talented people. Those owners are talented people. They're talented realtors, talented real estate brokers, but maybe not talented escrow owners.
Yeah, well, they get in the escrow business for the wrong reasons. They get in the escrow business to make money, where they're not making it in the real estate side. So that's how they keep their offices open. All right. And consequently, they hire people that may not be as skilled as they need to be, and they just get by. And the relationship between the broker and the realtor overcomes the deficiencies with the escrow person. Don't get me wrong. There's some good, fine people out there that have been doing it for a while, but they just lack that cutting edge understanding of what's happening now.
All right, good stuff. Again, Steve Korn, owner of Newhall Escrow. All right, we're going to close out here with a couple of quick items for you that's really imperative. We'll start off with real quick. Why is it a great time to sell during the holidays? Steve, why don't we hear from you first?
Well, my personal beliefs are that if somebody needs to buy during the holiday period, they're motivated. They have a circumstance that needs addressing, and therefore they are if they're looking during the holidays, they're motivated to buy. So you as a seller are going to be realizing a higher price for your property than in a different time when there's a glut of inventory in the market.
All right.
I was going to say there's just not a lot of competition either because so many people don't want to list their homes because they think it's a bad time to sell.
And they wait till spring when everybody else lists their home.
Or January 6th. It's like the heaviest listing days, like January 4th, January 6th.
Yeah,
Everybody holds them until then.
Right.
Well, I can't imagine a better time to sell or buy right now. The prices are up. Inventory's thin, rates are down.
Especially here in Santa Clarita, you don't have a lot of new construction coming online right now during the holidays, so it's a good time.
All right, here's my reasons, and I think these are really good ones. We mentioned earlier in the show that buying and selling real estate is an emotional decision without a doubt. How much more emotional can you get than the holidays in prepping your home with either sight, smell, sound, and making potential buyers feel good and visualize themselves in your home during the holidays? no better time. You know, I'm all about that. But it's got to be done tastefully. Don't go crazy.
Unless you live on Wakefield.
Yes, exactly.
So if you live on Wakefield, it was funny because you mentioned this. Last year, as I'm walking down Wakefield, there's 2 houses for sale. Can you imagine the foot traffic there? I mean, if there's ever any buyer for that home, they're going to see it for sure.
And what go? I want to do this at Christmas time.
Yeah. I think I closed 1 or 2 of those escrows, by the way.
Yeah.
On that street.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have Deanne that works with us, one of our rock star processors. She lives on that home, and she's the Raider home.
She is. That's
the Raiders.
Right.
Yep. So we know all about it. So it's a great time to sell. So don't and again, and if as Steve mentioned, they're motivated. They may want to get into your home for the holidays, for Christmas, Hanukkah, or New Year's. So they're very motivated. And that's what you want. Nothing better than a motivated buyer.
Well, remember, not only do they want to pay top dollar for that home because they're motivated and they're serious about it, they're also less likely to fall out. And that's one of the things you got to look at right now as a seller is there is fallout.
Yep.
Right now you got to be ultra careful with the offers that you're getting. Make sure you double scrub those loan applications.
Yes.
As volume in refinances go down, what happens is lower quality loan officers start giving out pre-approval letters like candy because they just got to get volume. Even deals that they say, well, I'm not even sure this will work. They give out a letter anyway to say, I'll make it work during escrow. And I'm seeing more files back on the market. I mean, we're getting phone calls every day now. Can you fix this? Can you fix this? Can you fix this? It's happening. It's pretty prevalent.
And I've seen escrows, cancel for the same reason.
All right, before we go too much further, we only got a few minutes here. We promised you. Also, why is it bad to potentially wait? Because rates are some of the lowest figure. In fact, we can explain that actually owning versus renting has actually gotten better the last 2 years. Even though prices have gone up, it's still better than ever to own versus rent because, believe it or not, a few years back, we got down to 30. It was basically a 34% better opportunity to own a home versus renting. Now it's up to 37% because rates are down.
Easy peasy. Rates are down and rents are up.
Bingo.
I mean, rents are up big time.
Right.
So you got that thing. So when people say it can't go any higher, you remember that? Every time you hear that, like in 2002, when people start saying it can't go any higher, that usually means you got another 20% to go.
Yeah, for sure.
So
and then add 10% to that.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we still have a ways to go with this market. So I can't think of a better time to buy than this holiday season when you have inventory at your fingertips.
Well, here's another thing to think about when you're thinking about maybe I'll just wait. And maybe you'll wait till everybody's buying, so their prices are jumping up again, and the competition's there. We don't have enough inventory. We're not building enough homes. Let's just say interest rates. We're in a volatile time right now with the new presidential, race and all that, and who's going to take office and all that. By now we know, but it's still volatile. We don't know how that's going to affect us. So what if rates go up 1%, which is not a lot? Remember, they expected rates to be up over 1% last year at this time. So if it goes up 1%, believe it or not, based on a $500,000 home, which is basically a medium sell price right now here in Santa Clarita, basically you would go from $500,000 based on an FHA loan with 3.5% down at a 3.5% interest rate, 4.93 APR. I got to say all that stuff. Believe it or not, you lose basically $42,000 in your purchase price if it goes up just 1%.
Your buying power.
Your buying power. Yeah. So Don says you lose the third car garage.
So the $500,000 home just went to $440,000.
Yeah, and then you can't find anything.
Right.
So you might be shut out of the market completely if interest rates go up by 1%.
So true right there, because that's the difference. You're like, wow, I could just get in the market. Now you can't. Right. Now you're looking somewhere else.
And now you're renting, paying 37% more than you should.
Exactly, and potentially giving up hundreds of thousands of dollars in net worth over the next 10 years. Do you realize if you bought a $500,000 house with the FHA rates right now, believe it or not, in 10 years, you're talking about having a potential net worth between your tax savings and your appreciation levels and you're paying down your principal and so forth of almost $300,000 in 10 years.
And you know how hard it is to save $30,000 a year to put that aside to make sure you have an extra $300,000 a year? I mean, $300,000 at the end of a 10-year span. Life gets in the way of that, and that's what's nice about home ownership is you've got the forced savings account. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but it's true. and you've got appreciation to help you, a hedge against inflation, a lot of great things with homeownership.
All right, so hopefully you got a lot of great information. Holy cow! I know we gave you, a little bit of information through a fire hose, but you can always go to don&gino.com. We record these on our YouTube channel. We break them up in 4 segments. We'd love you to check it out. Steve Corrin is involved in many of these videos. Steve, thank you for always being such a great,
my pleasure.
First, a great friend.
Yep.
2, a great confidant and partner in this crazy business we call real estate. And thank you for always giving us good insight.
My pleasure, guys. Glad to be a part of it all.
If someone wants to use New Hall Escrow, how do they get a hold of you?
Go to www.newhallescrow.com or 661-259-3450.
All right. And Gino, thank you as always, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Had a good time.
Thanks, Furman and the crew back there. And thank you for joining us every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Find out more by going to donandgino.com. Have a wonderful weekend. And
be good humans.
There we go.